Hey everybody, it's InnoVision! When transitioning from a software you're used to something new, it can be uncomfortable. For example, you're considering or you've recently transitioned from Windows to SteamOS. You may feel like SteamOS is lacking some of the capabilities you're used to. But in reality, you're probably just not aware that there's several applications to help make this transition so much smoother. So if you've been on the fence of whether or not to switch over to SteamOS because of app support, or if you've already switched over to Steam and you just need some software or apps to help you be more comfortable, this video is for you. In today's video, we're going to share several apps that help you ditch Windows. These apps will grant you access to other game storefronts, they'll grant you access to your Gamepass library, and they'll even improve game compatibility within SteamOS. Now, I've recently made the decision to pretty much use SteamOS exclusively, and it's possible because of the apps that I'm going to be sharing with you today. I do still have Windows around because I like to do performance comparisons and things like that. Now, that's not to say that I won't be using Windows a whole lot more in the upcoming months once the streamlined Windows 11 experience for the Xbox branded Ally devices launches. And it's right around the corner. There's been rumors that it's going to launch in October of this year and pre-orders are going up. That is probably one of the most exciting game developments for me because I would like a streamlined Steam Deck-like experience on my handhelds. I don't want to fidget around with the settings too much. I want to be able to just turn my device on, get into gaming, especially because my time is limited. This is going to breathe new life into my gaming experience. And it might be, hopefully it's good enough. It might make me switch back to Windows exclusively. So who knows? Only time will tell. The first app we're going to talk about is the Heroic Launcher. The Heroic Launcher will enable you to play games from several game storefronts with the exception of Xbox and Gamepass. For example, if you have games on GOG or the Epic storefront or Amazon games, the Heroic UI will aggregate all your content into one place once you've logged into your accounts, and it will allow you to install and then link the game into your games that show up in your game mode under SteamOS. And it would show up under the category of non-Steam games. Admittedly, probably like 80 to 90% of my games are already Steam games, but I do get several free games every month through subscriptions like my Amazon Prime subscription and whatnot. And so just having that flexibility is very nice. We're going to go to desktop mode to install it. We're going to grab it from the Flatpak Hub or the Discover App Store. And I haven't set it up on this device yet, so I'm going to go ahead and get it going. So I'm going to start by launching the Discover. I'm going to search for Heroic. Alright. And so I have a ton of GOG and Epic and Amazon games. So I'm going to click into it. Here we're going to click Install from Flatpak or FlatHub. So once it's done installing, you'll configure it by logging into your different accounts. Okay, it's ready. So I'm going to log into my accounts. I'm just going to show you what it looks like here. It takes you to your account login page. You'll type your email and your password. I'm going to log into a couple of accounts and then show you around. All right, so once you're logged in, on the left-hand side, have this stores. I didn't log into Amazon yet, but you can add, other stores if you haven't logged in at this point. And so we've got the Epic Store, we've got the GOG Store. It's already pulled in my library of games that I have on these other stores. All right, so let's grab Guacamelee. And I'm just going to use the default install options here. Guacamelee is installed. We're going to launch it. One thing to avoid that warning we were just seeing, we can go in here into Wine Manager. Let's go and grab Proton GE latest. Finish downloading Proton GE latest. Yep. So there you see it. Let's get it working in Steam in big picture mode. I like it to automatically update my games. So if you want to add your game to Steam, click on the three dots up here and then go down to this option, Add to Steam. Now you have to restart Steam for the changes to take effect, so it's not going to show up right away. But if we go back into big picture mode or game mode, that's the effect of restarting Steam. So now if we go to our non-Steam games, you'll see Guacamelee is right there, and I'm just going to launch it. Would you look at that? This is very cool. It's nice having access to all of our games. So the next app we're sharing is called Proton Plus. Ever since I've been using SteamOS back on my Steam Deck days, I ran into several titles that won't play due to various anti-cheat software that's used for the multiplayer component within the game. For example, Elden Ring, Phantasy Star Online, and what I found is this application, Proton Plus, will let you download a newer version of Proton Compatibility Layer. It's called Proton GE. There's different versions of Proton available in the app. I tend to use one called Proton GE, which stands for Golden Egg Roll. They recently made an update so that you can just point it to the latest version. We're going to show you that in a little bit. Last year sometime, I couldn't even play Phantasy Star Online unless I used Proton GE. Now, the current version of Proton that ships with SteamOS allows you to play that game. But even within, let's say a game gets an update, like Elden Ring or NBA 2K25, sometimes the version of Proton that's already part of SteamOS won't be able to play that game once that update ships. But if you switch the Proton compatibility to the GE version, you'll actually be able to play that game again. So this is a must-have application. So in order to install the Proton Plus Manager, we're going to go into desktop mode. And it helps to have a mouse and keyboard, but it's not absolutely required for this. So we're going to go into this Discover, which is like an app store, and we're going to type in the word Proton and hit enter. And so there's this app, Proton Plus. I already have it installed, but if you didn't have it installed, you would click right here to install it. And so I'm going to go ahead and launch it. And we want this Proton GE, stands for Golden Egg Roll. And they've recently moved to this Proton GE-latest, but you used to just get a different version. So now you can just get GE-latest and install it. And so there's a little delete icon here. I'm not going to delete it. That's actually the one I'm going to use going forward. And so it's already installed, but if it wasn't installed, you get a little icon right here to download it. And now that I have it installed, let me show you how I have it set up with my games. So the nice thing about being able to change out the Proton version that you're using for your games is if I go into a game like this one, Phantasy Star Online, it uses anti-cheat application layer, and this is because it's an online game. And so if I go into this cog setting here and then go down to properties and then go to compatibility, you're going to check this option, force the use of a specific SteamPlay compatibility tool, and you can go through a whole list of them, but you're going to use this Proton GE latest, which we just downloaded. It has been helpful. So many times I get game updates that break the anti-cheat program and the game won't launch. Like one of the games that's infamous for this is this NBA 2K25, and so if I set the compatibility to use Proton GE latest, I'll only do this for games if I have a problem with them. But Phantasy Star Online is actually a game that you can't even get up and running without the Proton GE, at least at one point. Probably now the latest version of Proton works fine with it, but in earlier versions of SteamOS, you couldn't even run Phantasy Star Online without the Proton Golden Egg Roll. And so if you run into an issue with a game not being able to log in, or you'll get a specific application error about the anti-cheat program not running, the first thing I would do is just change to use the Proton GE in this app compatibility. Our next app is simply amazing. It's called XBPlay. Now, it's an app you have to purchase through the Steam store, but it will allow you to play your Xbox Gamepass library through cloud streaming sessions. In general, there are ways to access cloud streaming without paying for it from an app, but this app is superb. It gives you several settings to tweak the video encoding performance and the layout of the UI, and it's just all-purpose app for game streaming. But not only does it give you access to Xbox Game Pass apps that are part of cloud streaming, it lets you stream your Xbox games across your local network. You could even configure this app to stream your PC games locally. So if you have the bandwidth support and you want to reduce the latency in your game streaming, I would highly recommend installing this app and installing the different backends you need on your gaming PC, and then you have access to all your games that way. And that's something I do quite often. And for today's video, we're just going to show you that this app exists and highlight some of the features. But in upcoming videos, I'm definitely going to show you ways to stream your Xbox and your PC games. Now, this next app is an absolute must-have if you're a Game Pass subscriber. It's called XBPlay. And it allows you to configure and stream Xbox Game Cloud sessions, as well as streaming from your Xbox itself on your local network. And there is a way to add a web browser to Steam, like directly in your apps here, and use a controller and all that. But this actually runs a lot better. The visual fidelity here is a lot nicer. And so I'm gonna have to set it up real quick. Once I get it set up, I'm gonna show you all around. So log in. They've streamlined this process so much since the earlier days of this app. You just have to scan a QR code. And so I'm logged in. And let's go to Cloud Play. You can even stream off your PC. You can stream off your Xbox. I'll have to put together another tutorial to show you how to stream from your PC, which is amazing. It increases your battery life. You get better visual quality. Games run smoother. And it gives you the option to add it to Steam or Play. And you can turn off this heads-up display here. In fact, I want to turn some of that off. There we go. The next app hardly needs any introduction at all. It's Lossless Scaling for SteamOS. Now, I've released a video in the past that shows you how to install and configure it, and I've shared some of my thoughts on it. And I will say, I find that there's certain games that are now playable because of this technology. I don't use it just willy-nilly. I identify use cases where I can use it. And as long as you have at least 30 or 40 frames per second going into a game, this is a nice way to enhance your frame rate. But I would always recommend tweaking the game as best as you can within the game itself before resorting to this technology. But it is a must-have. For example, I was able to play Sonic Frontiers, Oblivion Remastered, and Baldur's Gate because of this app. Where it excels, games that are slower pace and input latency doesn't matter as much. For example, Baldur's Gate is a turn-based game, and so that input latency really doesn't matter there. And you would think that Sonic Frontiers has low input latency. It's actually, the controls are very forgiving, and so you don't really feel the input latency. But I wouldn't use this plugin or app with a game like Elden Ring, for example. Another must-have application if you want to move from Windows to SteamOS is Decky Loader, along with the Lossless Scaling plugin. What it allows you to do is inject generated frames, and so we have a whole video on the channel about how to install and configure it. I have it already set up here. I'll link the video in the description of this video that shows you how to install the plugin. So I'm copying this launch option here, and I'm going to put it in my game, and I'm going to show you how it works. So Sonic is one of the games that I've tested that works really well with it. Games that require, you know, low latency and precision inputs, especially like first-person shooters or games like Elden Ring, I wouldn't recommend it. But Sonic, even though, you know, the Sonic the Hedgehog is very fast, the game itself is actually kind of slow. It doesn't require precise input. It has forgiving input timings. So I'm going to start off with lossless scaling turned off. So right now we've got it without lossless scaling enabled. Whoop. Without lossless scaling enabled, we're hovering, you know, around 60 frames a second. So let's go ahead and turn it on. So now we're staying above 70 frames per second. And I mean, this just looks and feels very smooth. This is like the ideal use case here. And just for everyone following along, we've got this set to 1280 by 800 with integer scaling enabled and the FSR sharpness filter. And it looks pretty darn good. It's kind of dark in the game right now. Having this plugin is essential if you want to ditch Windows. You know, with how many frames we've got going into it, we could actually go up to 3x here and it probably wouldn't hurt the game so much. But I want everyone to take note of this latency graph here. See how there's a lot of perturbations in the signal? That means that it's affecting the general quality of service. Our frame rendering time is going up and down constantly. And so when we turn it off, our frame rendering time will stabilize. Look at that. It tends to be higher, but it's more stable. It actually looks like 3x is behaving better, which is interesting here in terms of the latency graph. Look at that. We're above 100 frames per second. So this is like the perfect example because the game's close to 60 frames per second before we enabled the frame gen. This is terrific. In today's video, we showed you several apps that will help you ditch Windows, all made possible by enhancing your gaming experience under SteamOS. I have several other apps that are also very interesting, and I'll share them as time permits. What apps are you all using out there to enhance your SteamOS experience? Hit me up in the comments section. Let's talk about it. Let's have a discussion. Let's share all the things we're doing to enhance our gaming experience on our beloved handheld. That is what I love most about our community. Your feedback helps me get better at doing this so I can share with everybody. There's so many exciting things coming down the pipeline, like the streamlined Windows 11 experience. I have a couple tricks in my back pocket. I'll be sharing them as time permits. Make sure to hit that like button on the video, throw some comments in the comment section, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss all the amazing collectibles, toys, gaming, tips, tricks, and mods we've got coming down the pipeline.